as we've probably all witnessed in ourselves and others. Perhaps that is the wisdom that indigenous leaders have been passing on for centuries, because they know that a culture that is based on greed is a culture that destroys life.
Well, this is a very good video, and it brings a few thoughts to mind. I mean, one, I think there is an answer of why, if indigenous people were, predisposed to selfishness, why they would still have a successful system is because of the numbers. It's like we're predisposed genetically to have to shit. But if you're just 10 people in the woods, then you can shit pretty much anywhere and the woods will take care of it. If you're 1 million people, it won't. But still, even if there was a genetic predisposition among humans for selfishness, and sadly, I think there might be something like that, so what? We used to be genetically predisposed to live, find a little hole under a rock and live under there. It didn't stop us from evolving beyond that. We're not at the end of evolution. We can decide. And if we're genetically greedy, but have also, genetically intelligent enough to see the ramifications of that, to realize that it's not in our best interest, actually, to be greedy, that greed is an overabundance, an extreme form of self-interest that isn't really in our self-interest, then, we can help drive our own evolution into a new realm. Having said that, I think you make a good point. I don't think that greed is nearly as built into humans as people say. But I'm just saying, even if it were, that's not the end of the story. But I do think there is a chance that it's built in, somewhat, because I just look at, why do we have no primate relatives between us and the 6 million years ago that we were chimps? And chimps have evidence of war and whatnot, and to me it looks a lot like, because we were genocidal, which, what's not greedy about that? Deciding you have to kill off a whole other species because you want everything for yourself, whether or not you really need everything, whether or not you could really coexist. So I think there is somewhat of a tendency in our history, it looks like. Because I used to hope that this just went back 10,000 years or 100,000 years. This way of humans oppressing other humans, because, that's another thing about greed. Slavery is inherently greedy. And I hoped that we could go back into the history of man and find a time when we weren't slave owners. But this problem with the nature of the common chimp, and the fact that we essentially come from creatures that were like the common chimp, makes it look like maybe you have to go back 6 million or 7 or 8 or 10 million years to find that time in our history, potentially when we didn't have some pretty widespread, and dominant greedy behavior. But again, this is just, this is evolution. It doesn't mean that we're done now. I mean, if it's dawning on us that this greed is not such a good idea for us, that it's not leading us to the kind of lives of satisfaction that we want, then, we can do something about it. We're not done evolving.